Greetings, Sir and Sirettes, and welcome back to From the Depths with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome to a brand new series on the channel. Welcome to the Steam Workshop Showcase, a small side series in which we're going to be going through the best of the Steam Workshop creations for From the Depths, and having a look-see at them, hopefully providing some inspiration for those of you building your own things currently in the game, and just hopefully we can see a whole host of very, very cool designs. And in today's episode, to start things off with a bit of grandeur, we have the AF Answerer version 2. This is ridiculously huge and an absolute CPU killer. This is over 100,000 blocks. Most of the structure is based off turrets and spin blocks, and it just is so complex in terms of how many different components it actually has. A whole host of anti-missile laser systems, regular laser systems, and shields. Now sadly, this design is a little bit outdated, so the lasers aren't quite doing as much damage as you might expect, but even so, this thing can weather a storm of damage very, very well due to its immense size and ultimately its sheer defense. Now, I should have a clip of this thing actually unfurling, probably in fast forward, because it takes me down to 1 FPS when I first spawn this thing in, as all of the different components, all of the turret segments are actually folded up when it first spawns in, and then they unfurl, which looks absolutely amazing, even if it does want to break your computer into tiny little pieces. So let's quickly cut to that, and then come straight back. One observation which I think bears mentioning is that although the fortress looks remarkably complex, it's actually deceptively simple in how it's been built, which, to its credit, is one of the reasons why it doesn't completely lag out the computer and cause the game to freeze constantly. And the main way that this is achieved is that both the turrets and the wing segments, or at least what I'm going to call the wing segments, are simply built off of 2-axis turrets. This allows the segments to loosely attach to the vehicle rather than being rigid and in always one direction, causing them to simply fall into place rather than needing control blocks or spin blocks to make it in a specific way. This means it's far less CPU intensive and very easy to actually build yourself, as the weight of these segments themselves is what's causing it to fall into place, which is really nice, and actually a testament that sometimes simple is the best way to go. One final thing I will quickly mention before we send this thing into a battle is that I would like to see the lasers upgraded somewhat. Although quantity certainly has a quality of its own, most of these lasers, upon closer inspection, are a little bit on the weak side, and I really can't imagine them doing overly well against any particularly armoured opponents. Although against very small targets like the flying squirrel or even the Marauder, I can imagine them being shredded to pieces very quickly by the sheer amount of shots heading their way. Also, because of the immense amount of anti-missile lasers in the wing segments, I can also imagine it being pretty much impervious to the flying squirrel's weapons and perhaps any missiles from the lower tier of enemy. Although with such an immense cost, I would expect it to do better against harder enemies, but honestly, this thing is mostly for looks and mostly as a decoration piece, and with that, it certainly has gained my respect, as I absolutely love how this thing looks. So let's quickly spawn in a flying squirrel before we start spawning in something which will put up more of a fight. There we are. In fact, let's spawn 3, because why not? 2 to the east and then 1 to the west. If my screen didn't minimize, then it would have been significantly easier. And begin. Oh, it's just completely lagged out. Let's see if it will recover. Well, the game did recover, so let's try this again, shall we? Let's send in just a single flying squirrel this time, so that my words don't get cut off halfway through. I still love the fact that the flying squirrel is a godly design. I mean, it definitely deserves to be there, but for such a small craft, it is absolutely amazing. Okay, the flying squirrel has spawned in, and that is the anti-missile system, the first volley of lasers. The poor thing didn't even get to fire before it was... No, it got to fire once before being completely removed from combat. That was sort of terrifying, honestly. So with that done, let's send in something that can actually put up a decent fight. I'm thinking perhaps something like the Incinerator, or the Thunderbird from the Lightning Hoods, as I do think lasers will deal a lot of damage to this. Although saying that, the Razor Maul would also be a lot of fun, but I think the Thunderbird would be one of the more amusing battles, and likely will require a time-lapse. I can't imagine this being a particularly fast battle. Spawn in the Thunderbird, and please, please don't cause a crash. Okay, it's online. The anti-missile system's actually doing a lot of damage there to the Thunderbird. Are we going to need to speed this up? Possibly. Oh, here's a problem. Oh, I was going to say the fortress can't fight from the top, but actually, it has just dealt a crushing blow to the poor Thunderbird. So maybe it can. Oh, it's the anti-missile systems. Once the Thunderbird first fires, so many anti-missiles are being shot at once, it's actually causing catastrophic damage to where the missiles are being fired from. Although saying that, several of the missiles are getting through purely because of how focused all of the anti-missile lasers actually are. Though saying that, the Thunderbird has some anti-missile lasers of its own. Maybe I won't need a time-lapse for this. Come on, Thunderbird, I believe in you. I'll be actually really happy if the fortress wins this. And by the looks of it, it may be the case. I still love the fact it's the anti-missile systems doing a lot of the damage, although, saying that, these are doing a fair bit of damage now as well. The Thunderbird being made out of a lot of light alloy, and also quite a bit of regular metal, though. So yeah, I was wrong there. It was actually the regular lasers here, sheer number of shots, doing a lot of damage. So well done to the Flying Fortress. Being peppered with laser shot. Anything with anti-laser systems, though, is probably going to gut this fortress. So something like the Perforator from the White Flyers comes to mind. Anything with smoke screens will be able to avoid almost all of the damage. And the Perforator is actually a good example because it also has anti-missile system shutting down the other weapon system of the fortress. And so, the Flying Fortress, the AF Answerer, is the victor. And so ends the episode. I hope you've enjoyed, and in future episodes I will endeavour to cover more than one vehicle or one structure at a time, so that we've got more well-rounded episodes. If you have enjoyed, then of course, likes, favourite, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that the Workshop Showcase is a series you wish to see continued in the future. There will be a link in the description for the Steam Workshop page of the AF Answerer, and of course if you have any suggestions for future vehicles or structures for me to test out, please leave it in the comments below. I will endeavour to check out every single one of them. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.